And one year we always used to go to Union's basketball camp. And one year his mom was like, do they want to go to this camp that we bring Dion to? It was in Newark and it was run by Brevin. So we were like, sure, yeah, let's go. So we went to this camp and I met him. I had to have been like elementary school, maybe like fifth grade, the oldest. And I was just like, he is awesome. He was so friendly, so encouraging, like really tried to make me better in the week. And I just really took a liking to him. So then once he was playing for Charlotte, we used to go and watch when he was playing the Nets in Jersey, and we would go to the games, and then we get to see him after. And it was always like, you just felt he made us feel really special, even though, we were just little kids. And from then on, I always wanted to wear his number. So.
Wow.
I did.
That's crazy.
Isn't that funny?
We definitely did. We probably crossed paths because I used to be at the camps all the time. Wow.
Yeah, that's what Aaron said. I was like, that's so funny. And like, I honestly don't even remember like anybody there at this point. Like I couldn't remember anything, but we had to have been.
Oh, wow. That's super crazy. He's going to be extremely excited when I share that story with him because his schedule and whatnot, something came up. So we weren't able to do the show yet. So we still trying to figure out. As soon as I tell him that, there was somebody from your camp that we crossed paths, she wore 22 because of you. When Aaron told me that, I'm like, he was like, y'all should try to see if you could get them on together. And I'm like, I would think that would be huge and perfect, but we would have to figure out your schedule because his schedule he's an analyst now for the Grizzlies. So.
Oh, cool. I was going to ask what he was doing.
Yeah, he lives in Memphis now. I believe in Memphis, but he's an analyst for the Grizzlies. So with doing that, he started his own podcast. His schedule is super busy. And of course, he has a family and everything like that. So when we have him on, I'll let you know, see if you can hop on for like 5-10 minutes if you want.
Yeah. We used to play one-on-one, like right after camp, I would make my dad wait. I'm like, no, Dad, I'm playing one-on-one against Brevin. Like, you have to wait.
And Greg, Melissa, Greg.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Melissa.
Nice to meet you too.
I've been excited about this interview for a little bit. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to this one.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to it too. It's been a little while since I've been interviewed, so we'll see how I do.
It's more like a discussion. It's not really even like an interview. Like it's not that fun. Don't, it's all right.
I've seen some, so I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
And before we hop on, right? So I see that you always, from the views, you watch our stories and whatnot. From your opinion, as somebody that follow us, what would you say you would like to see more of or would like to see different? Because I see you be watching it, but you don't vote on the poll. So is there something like a poll?
No, that's just me. So I can start voting. I click, but I read it and I'm just like, oh, but I could definitely start voting. But I think the fact that you said that you want to have some more women on would be great. Just to get some different perspectives. But no, I think what you guys do is great. I like tuning in and hearing from different people and the discussion. So that would be my biggest thing. And that's why when you asked, I was like, this would be interesting just to get, because I feel like I'm very different than anyone else you've had. So just bringing like a different perspective.
Yes, that was the whole mindset behind it. So once we're done, if you know of anybody, your sister, anybody that want to hop on, we would gladly accept them on. So we definitely want more females on. We're working on having a model hop on at some point this month. So we're trying to have it a little bit more diversified.
Yeah, sure. I'll think about it. I'll think about who else, would bring a cool perspective. I'll think about it for sure.
All right, Greg, you ready, my boy?
I am ready, and it's super to see you said you into the show because it's still kind of mind blowing to me that people tune in. It's crazy. It's crazy when you hear people say that.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, like you really tune in and listen to me talk nonsense on a.
It's like, it's also crazy to think like when people say I want to start something like that, like I give you so much credit because one, it's scary, and two, you know, the fact that you can keep coming up with things to talk about that interest other people, like that's kind of impressive. So, you know, I give you guys a lot of credit.
Hey, Tone is the mastermind behind the whole project, man. So he deserves it. This is his baby. I just jumped on for the ride, but no, it's been a lot of fun since I got on here, and it's really cool. Like I've always wanted to do this. It's like a dream come true for me. So in whatever capacity I get to do it, I enjoy it.
It's great.
All right, we are back for another episode of the Bench Mob Podcast. This is episode 63. Changes is coming. We're not going to even, switch it up to season 3, 2, 1. We're just going to let y'all know the progress. This is the 63rd episode of the Bench Mob Podcast, and we have today such a special guest, my friend. She was at my wedding. Her husband, well, future husband, dope guy. That's Aaron Williams. Shout out to him. We've had him on the show also, so this is really dope to now have his girlfriend also on the show. Like, that's great. But I'm going to introduce her to you guys that don't know. This is, give it a second, she has a lot of accolades. Division III all-decade team, all-American team. Montclair State, she is second in scoring, second in field goal percentage, second in blocks, third in steals, fourth in three-point field goals, and fourth in scoring average. The person I'm talking about is Melissa Tobie. Thank you for hopping on tonight. How are you feeling?
Well, thank you for having me, Antonio and Greg. That was a long list. I was telling you before, when I was doing it, I was just kind of, that was just everyday business. So when you hear it all back, it's kind of like, whoa. But I'm really appreciative to have you guys on, or to have you guys having me on. I'm looking forward to what we're going to talk about.
Mentioning that, so you said, we talked about a little bit earlier that hearing it now, it's like, wow, I accomplished a lot. When you went there, did you have any goals set out to be like, hey, I'm setting this goal to be the best scorer? Like, what were your goals going into this? Because you have an illustrious career, well known. What was your mindset going into college?
For me, so I went to Roselle Catholic High School, and in high school we had a lot of success. So for me, it was more about the team aspect, and I wanted to win. Like, first and foremost, I wanted to win games. So when I was looking at colleges and, all the different levels, D1, D2, D3, and what opportunities I had, I wanted to go to a place where I knew I could make an impact and we could win games. Did I ever think we would make a Final Four? No. I don't think at that point it had even registered to me that was a possibility. I just wanted to go in and win and do whatever I needed to do, and however I could contribute to that, I was ready to do it. And then as I went in as a freshman, and as I began playing, then I would set some goals for myself within a specific season. But going in as a freshman, I just knew that I wanted to win. I'm very team oriented.
That's not an answer you hear that often when you talk to people about why they made a college decision, specifically when they're about to play a sport there. You usually hear like, hey, where am I? I just wanted to go where I was going to go play, right? Like, obviously no one wants to lose, but the answer is always, hey, I want to go play. Like, that's where I want to go have an impact. It's the winning usually comes second, but the winning was first with you. And that's really, really interesting. It says a lot about you.
And I think also, especially, it's such a hot topic of I went D1 and what that means. And could I have done that? Looking back, yes. I don't think I would have been part of a team that was so successful. And to me, that was what was more important. And there are people that, choose the D1 path because they need the free ride and their education. And obviously those are very important things. And I'm fortunate enough that I actually got an academic scholarship there. So I had to pay for room and board and some other stuff, but I got my education paid for, but um, that didn't need to be a determining factor for me, which I was, like I said, I'm very fortunate. So I wanted to go somewhere where, from a basketball standpoint, I was going to be able to win.
Well, there you have it right there, Greg. We've talked about so many episodes the importance to our younger listeners of the education aspect. Talented on the court, but she got there a full ride because of academics. Now, going into it, you mentioned you didn't go to D1 route. Were there D1 offers? Who were you looking at? Who were possibilities? Or was it always, hey, I was going to Montclair State. This is my chance where I could win and make an impact?
So I was in high school, I was kind of a late bloomer. So from the recruiting standpoint, I was on Montclair's radar for a while and a lot of Division III schools, but the Division I schools sort of showed interest later. So I had St. Peter's, I had Sacred Heart, St. Francis. So there were a lot of local schools, not a lot, but a couple local schools. But like I said, it was later. So I went on those visits, but I had already been to Montclair. I'd been to games at Montclair. I'd met the coaching staff. It was just, I just felt so comfortable there. And then from then on, every school that I went to, I was comparing to it. And, nothing seemed to really push me to go somewhere else because I was just so comfortable. And like I said, I knew that there was going to be success. And Coach Harvey had talked to me about, she saw that she thought I could make an impact and we could really try and bring this program to a new level. So all of that really factored in. But like I said, I was more of a late bloomer. So it was a different recruiting experience for me.
Hey, Greg, just so you know, we were in college at the same time. I was at a college that was in the division that played against her. She definitely made an impact. Montclair State, it had a lot of girls up late at night having to play Montclair State.
Oh God. Thanks, Antonio.
Montclair State.
You got Willie P, right? No? He was Willie P, right?
Yeah, Willie P. Nah, and at NJCU. I started off at NJCU. She caused problems at NJCU for 2 years. Then I went to William Patterson. I got to a whole other school. They're like, nah, Tobie. We got
Yo, that's crazy.
She definitely was a team player because I would watch the game. And our mindset too. If you were a killer, we just go kill. You really could have averaged like 25, 30 points every night, but you were such a team player, which I think obviously helped in your success. Where did that originate and start for you with being team first? Because as I mentioned, a lot of players that were as talented as you tend to be a little bit more selfish and like to get shots up and things of that nature, but you were team first all 4 years.
I think it's just like the environment that I grew up in and developed my game in. Like my AAU team, it was always about team first, winning games, even in AAU when you're supposed to be showcasing yourself. But the fact of the matter is, if you're winning games, coaches come and watch you play. So they come to good games. So all of that ties together. So it's just always been ingrained in me. In high school, we played team basketball. Like it's just what I've always known. So to be honest, like when I see something else, I'm like, it's hard for me to understand it. And I know that it's there. And, there's a lot of people like that. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not how I grew up playing basketball. And on other sports, I played soccer, which is very much a team game because there's 11 of them and on a field. So I just think that that's always kind of been what I've been around, fortunately.
That's definitely a good foundation to have, because a lot of people don't have that foundation. As you mentioned, especially in the AAU circuit, me and Greg have talked to numerous of AAU players and coaches, and that's all that they see a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, if you win, that's when the coaches come see. That's when the recruits come see them.
Yep.
Preaching that good.
Yeah, and I coach
here. For real, because I didn't mean to cut you off, Melissa, but
that's okay.
I coach AAU for a program called Unity Legends, And I've traveled all over the place and seen AAU teams like it's like they're sabotaging themselves, right? For the sake of two guys that are pretty talented getting 30 points, but they don't realize that it's like, hey, look, no one's going to see you play because you're not going to make it past this part of the tournament. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's super, super important. That was a really key thing to hit on there. But I'm sorry, as you were saying.
Well, I was going to say the same thing. I coached AAU basketball for all through college and beyond. So for 6 or so seasons. And that's always what I tried to preach. And I think that's just something I believe in. And I think that it pays off. You know, if you play team basketball, you look at the success in the NBA, in college, the most successful teams, you know, they all play together. It's not just one person. Yeah, they have a star, but if everyone's not gelling and vibing together, you're not going to be able to take it to that next step.
Well, you know, you were obviously a leader on your team, right? On Montclair State, right? So how did you deal with, and I know that the coach has the responsibility, it's a shared burden, right? The leader, the coach has that shared burden of dealing with the egos and personalities on a team, right? But how did you help deal with that throughout your tenure at Montclair State?
I think from a leading standpoint, I always, because I became a captain my sophomore year, and we actually had this training program of like, we read a book about being a captain and we talked through a lot of stuff with the coaching staff. But one thing I took away is that I realized that I was one that tended to lead by example. So in every drill, every sprint, every lift, like I always wanted to be the one that was working the hardest, because then I felt like I could turn to my peer who may have been not working as hard on that given instance. And I could say like, hey, we got to keep going. And I think accountability is a huge piece in leadership. And I'm seeing that in work and in basketball and in life. Like if you're not accountable for what you're doing and you don't hold others accountable, you know, you're not going to get everybody to move into that direction you're trying to go. So it was always about accountability for me. And I felt like I could hold others accountable if I was holding myself accountable. So that's what leading was always about. And just always preaching that team game. Again, if I played that type of style, it was easier for me to ask that of my peers. And we got everybody to buy into that type of success.
That's a major key, what you just said at the end right there, too. Everybody having to buy in. And with the success you had, it was obvious between your leadership and the job of your coach that people did buy in. I kind of want to go back, you know, let's go a little back to your origin story. Where did the love of the game start for you? You mentioned you were a late bloomer. Did you start playing late, or did your talents flourish late?
So it was kind of a little bit of both. I grew up playing soccer first, and then I did gymnastics, and I never was like a softball player, but I played a lot of soccer. I did travel soccer through right up until high school. So I started playing basketball. I would go to camps when I was little, but I started in 3rd grade. I had my dad as my coach. And then but still I was, you know, I had to get to soccer practice. I was doing a lot of soccer. And then when I got into high school, a few of my teammates at Roselle Catholic were going to be playing on this AAU team. And I said, that looks, you know, that's going to be fun if we can all play together and get better so that we could win more games in the winter. I was like, okay, sure, I'll go do that. And then really it was the summer after my freshman year where I really took a strong liking to basketball, made it my priority, grew a couple more inches, which helped. But that's really when that love of the game really came. So it was later for me. So, you know, people were talking about loving NBA and whatever as a kid, like that's not how I grew up. I didn't watch a lot of NBA back then, but now, I mean, I watch a lot of college basketball. I enjoy the NBA. So it was definitely a later bloom for me. And then my skills picked up in high school as well.
Greg, yo, that's crazy for her to basically start in high school. Like, and the stuff I just read off,
Right.
like, bruh.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's news to me. I always just thought you were getting buckets and winning from like fourth grade or something, but that's even crazy.
I played in school, but like just in the season,
That's all.
That's
So
The list of accomplishments is so long, it can't fit on my screen. I have it up right here on my second monitor right here. So the idea that you started late, right? And that's actually, that's a good segue into my next question. As you were saying that, I was like, hey, like, what does that look like? How do you get to that level? Because there was hard work that went into that, right? Obviously, outside of just playing AAU, and your passion was sparked for the game, and you really, really got into it seriously. Like, how many workouts were you putting in? Like, when did it really ramp up in that regard?
So once I started AAU, we were in the gym a couple times a week. But then like after school, I wasn't getting picked up on time. So I would throw my sneakers on and shoot around or just take free throws or, go for a run or what have you. So I think that kind of went to my benefit that I wasn't picked up right away because I was able to, get that extra time. And then as my sister Kate is 3 years younger than me. So as she got a little bit older, then we both sort of played a little bit together and would stay. She was a freshman when I was a senior. So in high school, we were in the gym all the time that last year of high school. But yeah, in AAU, extra workouts. I had a great coach, Mary Alice Zavaki. She was my AAU coach, and she would always host extra workouts for us. We were in the gym all the time. And it was high level, like, not just shooting around, standing still. It was always constant up and down. And all those reps, those game-like reps really helped me.
No, the more you play, the better you get. I'm a big proponent of that. I tell people that all the time. Hey, you want to get better at basketball? Go play basketball. Like,
go play. Yep.
Right. Big part of it.
You mentioned soccer. How much do you think that helped your game? Because I've heard a lot of times people that play soccer, even if they just come play pickup, I've seen it personally. The footwork with soccer players coming over to play basketball. Greg, I'm pretty sure you could test of it. It's hard to get past soccer players when they play in defense. If they good at soccer, their footwork is crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think that the soccer game helped your game for basketball?
I do. And aside from the footwork, which Antonia, that's a great point. The other thing are passing angles, which on a soccer field, it's a lot bigger, obviously, but just like, you have to anticipate the next pass in soccer a lot too. So I feel like something with that also helped my court vision when I translated to basketball. I thought that was a big proponent too. And I mean, especially my sister Kate was definitely the better soccer player for sure. And she's a fantastic basketball player as well. But she was a point guard in college. And I think for her, soccer really helped her court vision. I mean, she could make any pass. You don't even see it coming, and she was making it. So I think that helped translate in basketball for sure. And also just keeping me in really great shape. I played soccer all 4 years of high school. So I would go to a soccer game and then go to AU practice soccer, then go to AU. So I was running miles every day. I was in such great shape just from that up and down.
Makes me wish I played.
Because that's a different kind of endurance.
It really is. That field is huge. Huge. And to go to her point about passing angles in soccer and how it translates to being a good basketball player, you know who another great soccer player was that ended up being an NBA Hall of Famer? Steve Nash. Great passer. It's the proof in the pudding.
Yeah.
Thought about it as you were saying it.
For sure. I played soccer for a little bit, but they always made me goalie, so then I got upset and I was like, I'm not with this, because everybody actually were really good. I was trying to score the goals, but they was like, nah, this is not your sport. So maybe that would have helped me, doing some soccer, but hey, it is what it is. You mentioned your sister, right? How much did that affect your game? How much did it help? I'm sure y'all had y'all one-on-one battles, and I know you mentioned that you guys are constantly in the gym together. How much was that a factor? How cool was it? If I remember correctly, Kate went to MSU also, right?
She did, yeah.
So how dope was that, being that your younger sister was able to go to the same school as you and have success?
Yeah, it's funny you say the one-on-one piece. And with Kate and I, it was really never like competitive in that way. We were always on the same team, which I
Mm,
feel like is another interesting or not as normalized as like I feel like a lot of time you're playing against your sibling. And once in a while we would, but we were always there rooting for each other and practicing together, doing stuff on the same team. And then when she decided that she wanted to go to Montclair for her college career, I mean, I was so excited. She'd been around the program just because I was there and she would come to the games and everything. But I was like, this is going to be so awesome. She ended up being the starting point guard as a freshman. We went to the Final Four. I mean, to be able to say that we went to the Final Four together it's just, I still like think about those moments and, reminisce because you're just never going to forget it. I mean, it was amazing. And then she went on and had a ton more success at Montclair. Also, she had 1,000 assists. So she made out pretty good. But it was so much fun. I mean, we loved playing together. We got to go to college together for a year, which just in general is really fun. So yeah, it was great.
I can't even imagine. Like I have siblings that play basketball and whatnot. Obviously, it's my sisters, but I can't imagine how dope that would be to be at the same college, to be on the same team, and have that type of success. That's rare. That's something like you said
Yeah.
you'll ever forget. Um, After college for you, transitioning, were there any offers to go pro? If so, like, why didn't you go pro? As I said multiple times throughout the show, you had the talent. I wouldn't be surprised to see you on TV one day, but you chose a different. Tell us about that.
So I think when I was playing, um, even my senior year, I was so wrapped up in what was going on and, in the living in the moment, like actually. Um, and then I talked to my coach, Coach Harvey, about playing overseas and what that would mean, and just thinking about like what I wanted for my future outside of basketball as well. Um, and just started weighing my options. And I talked to, she had a connect about who could, just give me some more information on what that would mean playing overseas, because I didn't really know much about it. Um, but I just like, I could have went to a, a different country and do that. But then what ended up happening is as I was finishing my undergraduate degree, I had an opportunity to go to grad school for free and got grad school paid for. So it was kind of like,
Yeah,
which one like and I look back on it and there are times where I'm like, damn, I wish I played and would have been a really cool experience. But you also can't really regret things because it all happens for a reason. So I'm in a great position now. I was able to get a master's degree, debt free. So it all happens for a reason. I feel like I still try to be connected in basketball. I was coaching for a while. I took a break right when I got my job, but plan on going back to coaching, which I love to do. So, I play in some leagues now, but, um, there are days I think about it and I'm like, I could have done it, but no regrets.
well, shout out to you for you got free college, the undergrad, the masters, and I'm sure Greg could attest. That would have to be a hard decision. Like it would have to be such a perfect, ideal situation to go to another country and pass up. There's people still paying back for
Yeah.
undergrad
And
or masters.
right. And you think about, especially in women's basketball, like what the money looks like, unless I was playing at the highest level in China, which probably wasn't realistic for me, at least right out of the gate. You know, was the money really, and it's not, shouldn't all be about money. I get it. But like for me, that was a factor because it was either I was going to go and make average money or get a free master's degree. So for me, that was kind of the determining factor. I do think hopefully we can get to a point where the women are getting paid like the men are. And I understand that, they don't draw as big of crowds and blah, blah, blah. But, a woman in the United States shouldn't have to go to China to make money and play basketball. Like that's just what it is. So hopefully one day we can get there. But right at this point, that's not where it is. So that was, it was a factor.
Rightfully so. You don't rightfully so. Like, of course, as you said, money isn't everything, but in a situation like that, you're graduating college, you want to have a comfortable life, and it's definitely a big difference you see from the women's game when it comes to the pay scale. And even just like the past season, the WNBA just now starting to add different things of like having a leave if you have a child and changing things up in the locker room, people being able to get their own hotel rooms on the road. Like they would normally have to share rooms or pay more. Like
isn't that mind boggling? Like to think about a male college athlete like at Duke is getting treated better than these professionals. Like it's crazy, but it's what it is, and they continue to fight for equal pay or just more than what they're getting. And they're going to continue to do that. And I think they have every right to.
Absolutely. And as you were like, talking about that too, I couldn't help but think about Becky Hammon in the NBA and her. I think she's going to be a head coach in the NBA, which is really, really awesome. How do you feel about that? Just kind of seeing her come up. Obviously, a great player, like in her day too. So like, it's just a full circle path. What's your take there?
Yeah, I think I woke up the next morning. I wasn't watching that game, and I saw all the news about it, and I was excited. I posted about it. I thought it was great. But then Greg Popovich's answer was even better, right? Like he's talking about how for him, he was like, I get this is a big deal, but for me, she's a qualified coach, and but at the same time, it is a huge deal, and it should be celebrated because it hasn't happened before. And she's paving the way for women in sports, in males, in professional sports. Mm-hmm. So I think it's awesome. And I agree. I think she's going to get her chance, and the team that does it, good for them, but she's going to get her chance because she's qualified,
right?
Not just because she's a woman. Like she earns it, which I think is great. And hopefully there'll be more, and she can inspire somebody else who is climbing the totem pole and, sees her success and, says, I can do that too. And across the board. So very excited for her.
That's Greg Popovich, man.
We've definitely had a lot of positive things happening for women in sports, from Becky Hammon to, I am so upset I don't remember her name, but the young female who actually kicked in a college football game. She's the kicker for
on Vanderbilt.
I think her first name was Sarah. I may be way off.
Wow. Yeah, we should Google it.
I'm Googling it now.
You got that right?
I got you.
That was another one. I was so pumped. And then people were trying to say, oh, she only kicked so-and-so yards. Like, stop.
Here's her. I was right. Sarah Fuller is her name.
Fuller. There we go.
Sarah Fuller. Like, things like that, I think is huge, because I'm pretty sure you could attest to it. We've seen it in TV. We've seen it in movies where you see the young girl who wants to play football, or the young girl who wants to coach the boys basketball team. And they always tell them it's not possible. You can't do it. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing it more and more and more. So I think that's extremely dope. I think it'll have to change. Definitely. I can see within our lifespan, things looking a lot differently, especially when we start having kids. Like, I think it'll definitely, for our kids and their generation, it'll be a whole different landscape for sports when it comes to that, for females in sports.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see what happens.
Now, I know you watch NBA. Do you watch the WNBA at all? And if you do, like, are there any players that you really like, you pay attention to?
So I'll be honest, I definitely watch more NBA than WNBA. But I do watch. We were watching, especially this past summer. We tuned in a bunch. I mean, the Seattle Storm are unreal. When I actually played against Breanna Stewart in an AU game, I think she was only a sophomore, and I think I was going into college. I still played some AU. So I think it was, I mean, she was younger, but I played at Kane University actually against her, and she was very good then. And I followed her career throughout UConn, and now as a pro. I just think I really admire her game. I feel like her and I have some similarities in how we play. Obviously, not at
Yeah,
that scale, but
yeah, I do.
I
I have some,
feel, yeah, so I feel like I can, I relate to her a little bit. So I enjoy watching her play for sure. But there's so many, I mean, especially like these last couple of years, there's been some great athletes coming out of college. And I think what's great about the WNBA is a lot of them also have their degree when they're done with college. So, past basketball, they're set. But yeah, she's definitely my number one, I would say.
growing up, were there any players once you got, you found the love and the passion for it? Were there any players in general that you looked up to or you watched a lot that you try to model your game after?
Well, growing up, like once I really started following basketball, there was Kobe Bryant, obviously, um, who was just unreal. And that whole mentality, his Mamba mentality, definitely rang true. And I resonated with that. And then also another one that I felt, again, not comparing myself and saying that I'm by any means like him, but Kevin Durant was another guy that I like took a liking to. Um, he's able to score anywhere and anytime. And I just I felt like similar, both kind of on the skinnier side, not as physical, but still able to hold your own in the post. And his handle is ridiculous, way better than mine was. But he's another one that I enjoy watching, and it's really cool now that he's in Brooklyn and closer. Hopefully, once we can actually go to games, I'll be able to watch him live.
Mm-hmm.
Before Greg, before you go, I know you want to talk of that now. Before you go, you are super humble, so I'll say it for you. For those that are listening, Melissa definitely has similarities as KD, Breanna Stewart, Lauren Jackson, all of them. So she's not going to say it. I'll say it for her. She can score all three levels. But go ahead, Greg.
Nah, I just talk about the Nets. I'm a big Nets fan. I've been a Nets fan since I was a kid. Been to the dreary days and the Continental and everything like that. So I'm really hyped about the Nets right now. And you know what? You bringing that up. I want maybe think. Do you have any favorite team in the NBA that you follow, or is it more like just like following in general?
So I really just like watching good games. Aaron's favorite team is the Celtics, so I will definitely root for the Celtics. But I also would say I'm pulling for the Nets, which is a little contradictory. And honestly, with the Knicks kind of on the rise, like I'm hopeful that I would just love to have competitive basketball in this area that
Yes.
we could be excited about. um, so, definitely hopeful.
Sure.
But yeah, I also really like Brad Stevens. So when Brad Stevens went to the Celtics, I was excited about that. So, I'm always down to root for the Celtics.
Oh, you
So
put Nets in there. So you're good with me. You're good with me. You're a Nets. You're as far as I'm concerned, you're a Nets fan. All I need to hear.
Pro Nets.
Pro Nets.
unless Greg has something else, this is probably the last thing before we transition to the with the quickness segment. During your tenure at MSU, 4-time NJAC champs, you guys ran the NJAC. Now you got to the championship. I looked at the stats.
3-time. I was 3-time. I want to make sure.
3-time.
Yeah, we lost freshman year
Freshman.
in the semis.
So with a run like
You remember
that,
the losses.
with a run how was that for you to go on and run a 3 times straight? You end off your year, graduate. How was that? Because in the NJAC, that was a pretty competitive, why can't I think of the name? Competitive conference. I don't know why I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking of the word conference. Competitive conference. How was that to be able to, you guys won it 3 times?
Yeah, it was definitely competitive, and physical, which, it goes a long way when you have to endure more than half of your season in a conference like that. Like, you're getting beat up, so you play a lot of the teams twice. Like, you would think you're bound to squeeze out a loss here and there, and we did. But we were really fortunate. We were able to host all of the conference championship games, which obviously helped. We had great support, but I also think playing in the NJAC made us better when it came time for the NCAA tournament. Because like I said, it was physical, it was competitive, even for teams that were having down years. Like we had targets on our backs, so they always brought it. So we didn't have time to take a game off and relax. Like, we always had to bring it because they were coming for us. So yeah, it was great to play in the NJAC. There were some really talented players that I played against and that I played with. So it was cool to be able to say that we did that. And Montclair, we started a legacy. They went on and won it the next 3 years, at least. I think it was the next 3 years. So it's pretty cool.
That's super dope. Like you said, it started a legacy. Montclair State, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, when it came to Jersey and D3, to me, y'all was like UConn, essentially. It was every year, Montclair State was the team that, everybody had to worry about every single year. And you mentioned the tournament. What was, out of your college career, all of the success, you're in the tournament dang near every year, winning NJACs, setting and breaking records. What is the most memorable, if you had to choose one, which is hard in your illustrious career? What is some of the memorable moments for your career?
It's kind of an easy question. The most memorable was our final game, because we played in the Final Four and we lost in the semifinals. But our year, we had a consolation game. So we were able to come back the next day and play against the other team that lost, which was Tufts. And it was the most fun game. There's a link that we can go watch it. I watch it every so often because it was just so much fun. Didn't start off great. We were still nervous or whatever. But then when we finally just let go and we all looked at each other and realized this is the last time we're going to get to play together. And we had so much fun all year. Last time I was going to be able to play with my sister, and my teammate Janitza, the other senior. The two of us had played so many games together. So we just kind of looked at each other, and maybe it was halftime, and we just said, this is it. Let's go out and have fun. And we were laughing on the court, and we ended up winning the game, which probably helped. But it was just it was such an awesome feeling. So there were a lot of games. You remember a lot of the losses, to be honest, more than the wins. But that was one that I'll never forget.
I'd have to say, it wasn't a lot of losses, but go ahead, Greg.
I'm looking at the numbers, and it's your game was complete. You had a season where you were top 10 in almost every statistical category, second in scoring, seventh in rebounding, third in field goal percentage, right? And I'm tooting your horn here, right? But what do you credit to having a complete game? Because that's not something that every basketball player, in fact, most basketball players don't have a complete game, right? It's not something that's very common. So what do you attribute that to?
I think the reason that I focus on other parts of my game other than scoring is because the fact of the matter is you're going to have an off night shooting the ball. So for me, again, going back to that team aspect, seriously, my mentality was, all right, if you're going to suck on the offensive end and can't score, Like, what else can you do? What else can you bring to help your team? So you can rebound, you can make good passes, you can be aggressive on defense, try and get steals. Like, you can do all of those things without making a basket. I had a game, I think it was the Sweet 16 game senior year against Bowdoin. I had 1 field goal and 10 free throws made. Like, I could not find the basket. But, then I was like, all right, well, you're going to guard their best player. So try not to let her get a lot of points, get some rebounds, push in transition, like do something else so that at least my time on the court, I'm still earning that and contributing. So I think that that's really where it came from. It was always just like, the scoring's not going to come. What else can you do?
That is a great like mindset. And also, just for the listeners that are listening to this and the YouTube watchers that are gonna watch this on YouTube, you had a lot of buckets too. It wasn't like, there weren't many bad nights. Like, it was, you were the first. I see here, like, you were the first player in school history, program history, to get 500 points, grab 250 rebounds, record 100 assists, 70 blocks, and 70 steals in a single season. That, my friend, is OD. Like, what? That's crazy. So no, I mean, it's rarefied air you're in right now, but I mean, this is really dope. Kind of picking your brain and hearing a little more about your mindset on a night-to-night basis and what goes into it, because I think that it's really understated, like, the importance of just doing other things on the court side pouring the basketball, right? And it made you that much more valuable for your team.
Definitely, Greg. It's things that, if you're looking to get recruited, it goes a long way. Like, coaches see that stuff. Yes, if you can score the ball, great. But what else can you bring? There's a lot of people that can score the ball. So what else are you doing for your team? How's your body language? How are you carrying yourself? What's your attitude like?
Right.
All those things.
All those things that people don't think that are that important are super, super important, obviously. And you mentioned AAU, and I know I'm backtracking here, but you mentioned you coach it and then you played it. You happen to coach the same AAU program that you played for when you were growing up? And also, what AAU program is that? For a shout out here as well.
Yeah, so I did. I played and then was able to coach for the same AAU program, the New Jersey Crusaders. I started coaching 3rd graders, and I actually coached them all the way through 8th grade, them going into their freshman year. And now they're juniors in high school, and it's crazy to think that they're looking for schools of their own to go play at. But it was so much fun. I mean, I had a great group. So many of them. I had a couple from 3rd grade all the way through 8th grade, same girls. And, preaching what I believe in and what I find as the core values for basketball, that's what I taught. And they bought into it, and they're very successful right now. A couple of them are pretty successful. So
nothing better than giving back like that, honestly.
Word. That's super dope. I know your coach, all your coaches, they was able to sleep good at night having you on the squad with everything you just said of your mentality of, let me do more than scoring. Let me have a complete game. So I know, without having to talk to them, you made your coach's job very easy. We're coming to the end of the interview. Before we transition, I have to ask one question because I think it's so dope that you do it. I think it's great. Tell me where your mindset, where your love came for speaking out on social justice issues, on equality. I see you're often posting it. I see that you're an ally. I see that you post for equal rights for women. You do all of it. Where did that come from? Because I can say on the outside looking in, you use your platform for the right reason. So where did that come from to actually speak up on these things?
Thank you for that. Well, first, I think that growing up, my parents always, instilled that in me and told me that I should stand up for what I believe in. But also I come from an all-white family. I've lived a very privileged life. So having to take a step back and just listening to other people, I thought was really important. And it just came to a point where seeing what was going on in this country. It was upsetting, disturbing, disgusting. And I actually had one of my former teammates who I value her very strongly, Taylor Jeffers. She was 2 years older than me, but we had talked about social justice issues before this. And, you know, it came to a point where things were happening like around May and June with George Floyd and everything. And, you know, everything started happening so quickly. I was reading so much and I was just like, I kind of froze and I was like, I don't really even know what to say. Like, I literally froze. And so she messaged me and she was like, she called me out, which I appreciated. She said, "How are you using your platform right now to speak about these things?" And I was like, honestly, Taylor, I was like, this has literally been on my mind. I didn't know what to say. And then finally I was like, you know what, you just have to say something. So that's really where it started. And especially dating Aaron, who's a Black man, you know, how could I not, like, I literally felt like, how could I not be saying something? It felt irresponsible, and ignorant. So I finally just got to that point where I said, you know, these are important issues. And I feel like a lot of people think that they're not going to be able to make a difference just by reposting something or resharing. But I have not a lot of followers, but I have followers that come from, you know, similar backgrounds to me, or all white families. They don't see this. They don't live in as diverse of an area as I do. Like, I'm very fortunate that I grew up around so many different people coming from so many different places, playing sports, you know, meeting different people. So I have that, but so many people don't. So if you don't know what's going, like, if you don't live it, it's very easy to just turn a blind eye to it. So if even my post just makes somebody stop and think for a second and reflect, then that's great. And if they don't, that's on them. But, you know, I just got to a point where I was like, how can I not? Like, it just, what's going on it's so sad. And I wish I could do more, but, you know, I'm reading, I'm listening, trying to learn, um, trying to have conversations, still working on it. I don't think I've perfected it, but, you know, constantly trying to work on it.
Well, you said
I
something that was
think
so cool. Like, I'm sorry, Tom, I cut you off, but I was talking to a couple of friends at work because at work, when the George Floyd incident happened and Jacob Blake happened, they had like a large like Zoom call for the whole company to hop on and for people to kind of, clear the room and air how they were feeling, right? And I spoke and a couple of people spoke, but predominantly Black people spoke on the call. Like the Black people in the
Mm-hmm.
company spoke, and a couple of our white coworkers spoke, but not too many of them, right? And I left that call kind of feeling like, hey, like I know that more of you guys care about what happened, but sometimes saying something, right? In fact, I think all the time, saying something, just kind of, even if it's the smallest, minute thing, right? Saying, hey, this is disgusting. This is horrible. I feel like it's just telling me how you feel. Makes me feel like we're all in it together. It makes you feel so much better. So you saying that honestly, like, means a lot to me, right? Without knowing you too well, Melissa, and you seem like you're lovely, right? And awesome. And but like you saying what you said, like that means a lot to me, just kind of hearing that, because it's something I've talked about at length with people that are close in my life, that I'm close to. And I always say, like, hey, just like our white counterparts and people who aren't going through our experience in the country, like just you saying something go means everything. And I don't think people really hear that enough and understand it,
Mm-hmm.
like just kind of impact it makes to, you know, black people, right? Like, simply put.
Yeah. And I'm really glad, Antonio, that you asked this question because, you know, I'm comfortable talking about it, but, you know, some of the topics are really uncomfortable. Um, and so, but they're only going to you just have to put it out there and talk about it. And it gets easier to talk about it as you talk about it. I've been trying to have conversations with my friends and being cognizant of that. And just having conversations at dinner or over text or whatever, but just to make sure that we're all like in tune with what's going on. Because like I said, like I could, not really me, but even some of my friends could just live life and not worry about any of this. And if they choose to do that, that's their choice. But for me, I couldn't do that. It doesn't feel right. There's way too many people that are going through things and being marginalized, and the racism that is just embedded in our country. Like, it needs to be addressed. And if we don't do it, no one's going to do it. So it's got to start.
I think it's dope. I've watched from afar. I've known you for a little bit. Great human being. This speaks to your character. You posting about it. You post about all. If it's wrong, you post about it. You post about things going on in Sudan, and you post about things going on in Egypt. Like, you've posted about everything. So I just had to ask, like, across the board, why you were doing it. I think it's dope. I think it speaks to also, again, the team mindset that you have. We're all a team, the human race. We're a team. So that speaks to that. Shout out to you. Shout out to everything that you do. Shout out to your career. We're going to transition before we get you out of here. Some with the quickness segment with some questions. Whatever comes to mind. Whatever comes to your mind. Whatever you choose. Cool. All right. So it's a new 2021. Do you believe in New Year's resolutions and doing things like that?
I do. Yes.
So what's one of your New Year's resolutions, or what did you put on your vision board?
So one of my New Year's resolutions was to read more. So I downloaded an app, and I can't think of the name of it at the moment, but you can basically like select a bunch of books that you want to read. So I'm trying to do at least one a month. And I enjoy reading, but I just don't make the time for it. So that's one of my resolutions, is to make more time for it.
Yeah, I think that's key. I like reading too, but I don't typically make time for it. So,
or I fall asleep.
One song that would exemplify your life.
God. All right, I don't think anyone's gonna know this song, but one of my favorite artists is Sia, and she has a song called Unstoppable, and I relate to it. I like that song.
Okay.
Yo, it's a good song, bro. That's a good song.
Do you know it?
Guilty pleasure. He is like that.
I've heard of her. I've listened to some of her music. I haven't listened to the song, but I'm going to have to check it out after this.
Didn't she make a remix?
Pretty pumped.
There's a remix of that song with Kendrick Lamar on there, isn't there? Isn't it? Or am I wrong? Isn't I think about the wrong song?
It's not that song, but yes, that's her.
That song is tough. All right. Well, I don't know about Unstoppable. I'll listen to it later.
Speaking of, what's your favorite genre of music?
I would say pop.
Favorite pop artist right now. I'm sorry, I'm gonna jump in here.
Yeah.
Favorite pop artist. Well, Sia's up there. I like I've recently took a liking to Ariana Grande. I wasn't a fan for a while, but I like her new album. I do like Taylor Swift. I'm basic like that. But Katy Perry, Miley Cyrus, all them.
Do you consider Drake a pop star?
What'd you say?
Do you consider Drake a pop star?
He's like, probably not. He's like half. I don't think so. No.
Okay,
just I like him.
I would answer the same thing. I'm getting to that Dua Lipa. She's crazy too. On the pop scene.
She's good. Yeah.
I like Dua Lipa. I don't know.
No. You trust me, bro.
That was the only one.
I got her on the mix. We gonna have to
she's good.
Playlist
after this.
Yo, she's crazy. She's so good.
Okay, what's your go-to meal?
I'm relatively healthy. I love salads, but if I had to pick like something that I'm always in the mood for, it would be Chipotle. I think it's actually dinner tonight.
So what are you getting from Chipotle? What's your Chipotle meal?
Typically a bowl. I'll mix up the meat, but I like a bowl with pretty much everything in it.
I'm the same. My bowl be heavy. Like you put it on a weight. It's about 4 or 5.
Right. I feel like if you get a burrito, you don't get as much. So it's like,
Oh,
Or you get the burrito and it breaks apart, and that's the
right.
worst. It ends up being a bowl.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get the chicken, the steak, I get the rice, I get both types of beans, the peppers, I all that. It'd be
I want to drag out the food conversation, but the chicken sandwich is it's been a debated topic on the podcast over the last couple of weeks. And have you had the Popeye chicken sandwich and have you had the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich? And if so, which one's better?
I have. We actually just had the Popeye sandwich like 2 weeks ago, maybe. I think it's better. I think Popeyes is better.
What makes it better in your opinion? I'm sorry, it's not a food podcast. I just want to know what you think makes it better.
I love food. I could talk about food for another hour. But I get the spicy sandwich. And I think it's like bigger. So
fair enough.
It's definitely spicier too. It's really spicy, but it's good.
Oh, it's mad hot.
Yeah.
Greg was saying earlier in one of our other episodes, he said what makes the Popeyes chicken sandwich better is the bun.
The bread.
The bread is very good. I like the pickles.
The pickles are good.
The pickles are a nice touch.
I think the bread's the magic. The magic happens to the bread, man. I don't know.
You could be onto something there, Greg.
I'm telling you, it's the one thing. I'm telling you.
I still got to get to it. I haven't tried it yet.
What?
Yeah, you're bugging. It's good, bro.
Hey.
He can't hear you, but they said hi.
Boys, it's good. Last thing before we get you out of here, 5 people, dead or alive, that you would have at your dinner table.
Kobe. 5. My God. He was an easy one, especially at this point. Aaron said Paul Pierce. Honestly, I would really like to talk to and pick his brain, Steve Nash. And then I would also say, this is hard. Probably, this is random, but going back to food, Bobby Flay.
Okay.
I respect it.
I'm a big foodie. Trying to think of I overthink things, but I'm trying to think of like different areas of life. I think Julie Ertz, she's a women's soccer player that went to the World Cup. She would be kind of cool to talk to. And finally, I might say
you want to get some music in there?
I know, I was thinking about music or acting.
Oh, okay. Acting would be new.
What's his name? Oh God. See, now I'm gonna embarrass myself.
We got who right here.
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan. That's my guy.
That's the guy.
That's the 5th.
I'm gonna have to pull up a seat at that table. That's a
great table.
Good table.
Trying to get different opinions. Different.
Let's go.
Of course. Yeah. Last before we get you out of here. 3 things. If you're put on an island, 3 things that you would not be able to live without. 3 things.
Can I group my family as one?
Of course.
Aaron, Frenchie, Fam.
Of course.
That would be one. I would probably say like my phone as a source of internet and all of it. And then lastly, I think I'd want a basketball.
Hey.
I love it. I love it. This is amazing.
Family.
We literally we bought over COVID, I bought basketballs and I bought like a soccer ball. I was like, I just feel like we don't have any of those things, and we want to go out and shoot or whatever. So I realized how important it was.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, that's a wrap. That is the conclusion of episode 63 of the Bench Mob podcast. We are delighted to have had Melissa on the show. Make sure that you guys listen, subscribe, tag a friend. Even if you and your friend don't talk, we at the Bench Mob, we bring people together. So if you are not talking to your uncle, your baby mama, turn on the Bench Mob podcast. We talked about everything from food, sports, music. It'll bring y'all together at some point. But if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Bench Mob, we out. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.